Your presence is a pleasure for us. Thank you for your presence.
Edge of a vast shimmering lake, there lived a woman named Lena. She was a quiet soul, content with her simple life as the town's librarian. The town itself seemed like a perfect reflection of her spirit, calm, serene, and slightly removed from the fast-paced world beyond. Every evening, after the library closed, she would walk along the lakeshore, her thoughts drifting like the boats on the water, searching for a story to write or a memory to keep. One autumn evening, as the golden sun dipped beneath the horizon, Lena noticed a figure by the lake, a man, standing with his back to her. He looked out over the water, as if it held the secrets of the universe. His dark hair tousled by the evening breeze, and his posture was relaxed, but there was something profound about his stillness. He was an artist, a painter who had moved to the town only a few months ago, seeking solace and inspiration for his work. His name was Daniel. Lena had heard whispers about him, the outsider who painted breathtaking landscapes and portraits, but remained distant, mysterious, and often alone. He was a person of few words, and many of the townspeople found it hard to approach him. But Lena had never been one to shy away from a mystery, especially when it stirred something inside her. Over the next few weeks, their paths crossed frequently. Lena would find herself walking near the lake at sunset, and Daniel would be there, his easel set up, capturing the changing colors of the sky. One evening, she finally gathered the courage to speak to him. "Your paintings are beautiful," she said, her voice soft but steady, the words spilling out before she could second-guess herself. Daniel turned toward her, his eyes warm but guarded. "Thank you," he replied simply, his gaze flickering back to the canvas. Lena stood for a moment, unsure of what to say next, but the silence between them didn't feel awkward. Instead, it felt like an invitation to share something deeper. She took a breath and continued, "I've always wondered what it's like to see the world through your eyes. You capture everything so perfectly. Every stroke feels like you're trying to speak to the heart of the world." Daniel studied her for a moment, then smiled slightly. "You seem to understand what I'm trying to say, even without seeing the painting." That was the beginning. Over the following weeks, Lena and Daniel began meeting regularly by the lake. He would paint, and she would bring a book to read, though often the stories in the pages would blur as their conversations stretched long into the night. They talked about art, about life, about dreams they had never shared with anyone else. Daniel, with his distant nature, spoke of his past, a life he had left behind in the city, where he had once been famous, but had grown disillusioned with the superficiality of fame and recognition. Lena, in turn, shared her quiet love for stories, her longing for a deeper connection to the world, and her admiration for the quiet beauty that surrounded them every day. As the weeks turned into months, their bond deepened. They became inseparable, their love blooming like the wildflowers along the lake's edge, unnoticed by most, but undeniable in its quiet, powerful presence. One winter evening, when the first snow fell, Daniel invited Lena into his cottage for the first time. The warmth inside was a stark contrast to the cold outside, but it was the firelight that made everything seem alive. "I want to show you something," Daniel said, leading her to the room where he painted. The walls were lined with canvases, some finished, others still in progress. There in the center was a painting of the very lake they both loved, but it was unlike any landscape he had ever painted before. The painting showed a woman standing by the lake, her hair blowing in the wind, but the face was turned away, as if lost in thought. The woman was dressed in a flowing, white gown, and the moon above her seemed to cast a magical glow on the scene. Lena felt her breath catch in her throat. It was her. "Why me?" she asked, her voice a whisper. Daniel turned to her, his eyes soft with a longing that matched the stillness of the painting. "I see you in the way the light reflects off the water," he said. "You're like the lake, calm, yet full of stories, always moving but never changing. I can't help but paint you, Lena. You're part of the world I've been trying to capture." Tears welled in her eyes. She had never realized how much he had observed her, how much he had come to understand her in ways she hadn't even known herself. In that moment, under the glow of the fire and the soft light of the moon, Lena realized that their love was not something that had been found by chance. It had always been there, quietly building, just waiting for the right moment to be acknowledged. And now it was undeniable. Years later, the town would still whisper about Lena and Daniel, the artist and the librarian who had found each other by the Moonlit Lake. Their love story became the heart of the town, a tale of quiet passion, of finding beauty in the everyday, and of two souls intertwined by the simple act of truly seeing each other. They both lived quietly, but their love was known to all. It was the story of the town, the one that people would tell for generations to come. A love that needed no grand gestures, only the shared understanding that sometimes the greatest love stories are the ones that are lived in the quiet moments, under the gaze of 1,000 stars. The end.